Hello, family. Today is Memorial Day 2023, and I am back in the garden. I'm excited to be back in the garden. I wasn't excited when I first came down here because it really was a hot mess. It was a lot of work to try and get this together, but I'm getting it together. I put down some weed barrier so that way it'll block some of the grass because the grass was coming up. I also cleaned out a lot of my beds. I even got some things planted today, which I'm super excited about. And I am going to go up to the food forest before it gets too dark and tell you guys what's going on at the food forest. But I was out here today and I got a lot of stuff done. So follow along if you want to see how this year's garden turns out. I'm excited to see how it turns out. So it is starting to come together. I've been working pretty hard down here trying to get everything situated, trying to get the beds ready. These beds back here are super grassy. So I am going to work smarter and not harder, and I'm going to cover them up and see if this black tarp can kill some of the grass. I still have a little bit of time before I put my heat loving plants out, as we are still getting into the 30s and 40s at night. So, and when we get a consecutive 50 degrees or 55 degrees and up, I will come out here and get my heat loving plants in here. As I said before, right now we're still not getting those time of nighttime temperatures, so I still have a little bit of time. I'm going to cover these up and hopefully it will do the work for me, and that way all I got to do is come in here and put a little bit of compost on here and plant directly into the beds. So I am up at the food forest, and as you can see, there are piles of wood chips everywhere. This garden is under construction this year, and we are observing the 7-year rest for the garden. In Exodus 25, it talks about the Shemitah year, where you let your land rest every 7 years. So, and if you're obedient to that, you get abundant harvest. So we are going to be obedient to that. I was a little upset when your father told me that we were going to do Shemitah this year, because Shemitah was actually last year. But he wanted to do it this year because this is the 7th year of the property. So that way we could just stay on track, and it's a year behind the actual Shemitah, so we don't have to lose track. So we're letting this entire property rest this grow season. However, we did do a compromise, so I will be planting in a few buckets in the lake garden. At least a few buckets in the lake garden, which is great. So I'll at least I don't have to walk down to the farmhouse or go down to the farmhouse to pick up lettuce, tomatoes, cucumbers to make a salad every single night. But I just wanted to do a quick walkthrough so that way we could document the progress. And look at this. So we will have harvest after all, blueberries at least, and raspberries. So that's awesome. I'm anxious to see what grows in the beds. What is coming up in the beds? Look, wow, look at even the wild raspberries are budding up. That looks great. So we're going to have a lot of raspberries. But it also gives us a little bit of time to, get this place together a little bit more, so make sure that it's easier. We got to put the drip lines in. We have to make sure that this grass doesn't come up from the top. We have to cover the beds so that the weeds don't come through. So that way it's going to make everything a little bit easier, being that we have so many garden spaces to contend with. But I just wanted to go through a little bit and show a little bit of what's going on. Or should I say what's growing on. We lost 2 hives this winter and 4 hens this winter. So I am excited to see what pops up. All right, I'm going to run down to the lake garden real quick before it gets too dark. So I am down at the lake garden, and this garden too will have a Sabbath rest. And I wanted to see what was going on down here. The deer knocked down the fence over the winter. They always do. And they always eat up everything that I'm overwintering. But we will not be growing anything in this garden this year. We are giving it a rest as well. And look, already I have all this volunteer lettuce that's coming up, which is going to be awesome. So that way I don't have to plant lettuce up here. I can at least get my lettuce. I am going to plant some cucumbers in buckets over here because I love my arch So I will be planting that in buckets as well. And I was also thinking about putting maybe a watermelon or two in here. No watermelon wars. My season's not long enough. Sorry, guys. I ain't going to try and hang with y'all. Y'all got it. But I do want to put some watermelon in here. That way it can vine out inside the garden, since nothing's going to be growing in here and I won't have to be in here that often. I think that's going to be cool. I don't know what we're going to do with the lake garden yet, the lake container garden. I don't think we're going to be doing that this year. I don't believe that it really gave us enough harvest for the trouble that it was worth, and it floods down there as well. So I don't know if we're going to be doing that this year, but I will be planting in buckets in here, and I have to get this together too. So that's another day. I have been focusing on the farmhouse garden today, and we will definitely get it together. And it's not that bad in here. I'm not going to cover it. I want to see what actually comes up volunteer and see what happens. I know that's making a bigger mess in the fall for me, but I'm anxious to see. I'm curious to see what happens. So I'm going to go back down to the farmhouse garden. I just came up for a quick break. It's getting late. Do a quick update video on what we did accomplish, and call it a day and try again tomorrow.